is here to serve the male ego. We've already had great video essayists talk about how AI models tend to be molded after women, young, beautiful, voluptuous, skinny women who are there to perfectly serve men. People have spoke about the issues of companies naming their AI and service robots after women who then also have women's voices. Scarlett Johansson has famously been someone who's not only been targeted to leak their personal images, but also to create deepfakes of them, but also her voice allegedly being used to train OpenAI's voice for Sky, I believe it was. They approached her asking for permission to use her voice, but in my opinion, in my little conspiracy theory mind, is they'd already done all of the training and then they asked her afterwards. It fits far too well into the tech bro space of move fast and break things. We're going to be talking about so much farming in this video, lots of talk of corn and eggs. There is a whole bunch of this video I will not be able to share on YouTube because they love to demonetize people that talk about the issues of stuff, as happens to me all too often. There's an entire chapter of this video which I definitely can't include on here, so that's exclusively available on Patreon. And if you ever do want my ad-free, uncensored, director's cut versions of these videos, hop on over to Patreon, the link is down below. And when it comes to how AI are presented on screen, it's not always done in the best way. I would really recommend going and watching this video from Final Girl Digital. Like, we've got such an issue, especially when it comes to women, of enjoying or capitalizing off our own sexuality. You know, of their own autonomy and volition. People hate that OnlyFans workers are paid for something which should be able to be gotten for free. Well, they're working, so they should be paid for their work, just like you should be paid for your work, right? But this is just your entitlement and societal shaming talking, which has created this whole disgusting misogynistic mess. And yes, eggs work is a whole other topic unto itself. I would even recommend you go and watch this video from very old video from Philosophy Tube. It was made like 6+ years ago at this point. Sydney Sweeney, someone who men absolutely adore and have claimed that finally women are women again. She sold soap containing her bathwater. And people say that this cheapens her, but these are the exact same people who would quite happily watch deepfakes of her, right? Or would be interested in a doll which was modelled after her. But because she is benefiting herself, that makes her cheap? We hate women having control over their eggs, you see, like it's disgusting to flaunt it. Preferring it being something done to a woman rather than something which, you know, everyone's participating, consenting to and enjoying. And this is a big part of the problem here, especially with the way that eggs tech has developed over time. Not only when it comes to deepfakes, but also when it comes to companions and dolls. This and so much more is explored brilliantly in Laura Bates' latest book, The New Age of Sexism, which I highly recommend. It's listed for you down below. And as I've told my patrons in my in-depth review for them, it is a fantastic but highly disturbing book and a very tough read, so just be warned. It's definitely what I would call stomach churning. The thing which struck me the most, and this is something which I've been feeling for a long time even before I read the book, is the increasing attitude of entitlement to, especially women's bodies, all without their consent. And thanks to AI, well, we don't need their consent anymore. Anything that you could possibly dream of can be created. Your convenience is the thing that matters. You see it, you want it, you like it, you create it, just take it.
She's a robot. I made her to love me. I didn't make a toy. I made a girlfriend.
Bots are here to serve you. Tech fairs are beacons of light to the future, giving us all hope. Except most of them are dedicated to AI these days, right? Which all of us, well, myself very much in this camp, hate. Not only for the moral and ethical issues, but also the environmental ones too. I've talked about this before, but generative AI, you know, when it comes to LLMs, large language models, diffusion models, image generation, video creation, as these are all examples that we're talking about in today's video, they've got terrible environmental impacts. As this MIT piece explains, generative AI training cluster might consume 7 or 8 times more energy than a typical computing workload. By 2026, the electricity consumption of data centers is expected to approach 1,050 terawatts, which would bump data centers up to 5th place on the global list between Japan and Russia. And most countries aren't like us here in Aotearoa, where a majority of our electricity is from renewable resources, between 80 to 85%. For the world to survive, we need to have massive decreases in energy consumption, particularly fossil fuels if people are ever going to be able to survive. Planet's dying and generative AI has its foot to the floor, and companies are capitalizing it and using the objectification of women and this sense of entitlement to further their own gain, creating bots which are better than real women because they can't say no. In 1974, Maria Abramovic created Rhythm Zero, an art piece where she was the subject. And people could choose from a table of things of what they wanted to, quote, do to her. They could give her a flower or they could use a knife. As this Guardian piece reports, the performance lasted 6 hours. At first, her audience was passive, but then as time went on, they turned violent, with people using the objects to cut into her skin, rip her clothes, stick a knife between her legs, and attach a piece of paper to her body that read vile. Surrounding the table at this exhibition, there were photographs of what happened at the exhibit. They show predominantly men playing with the objects, touching Abramovic's body, ogling and laughing at her with her friends, as she stands there alone, tears filling her eyes. Well, she asked for it, right? The rhythms explore the tightening of rules in an authoritarian society, but also what it's like to be a woman in a deeply misogynistic culture. But I mean, if the opportunity is there, you can't expect people to not go doing the worst things, right? Who was it that was doing the worst things? It was men in this case. I mean, she couldn't say no or fight back. If you're allowed to do anything, why treat them with kindness and respect? When the performance was over and she was autonomous, herself again.
At that moment, everybody ran away. People could not actually confront with me as a person.
People are absolutely fine to defile and abuse because our bodies are seen as a plaything for their enjoyment. But then you bring in consent and accountability and suddenly everybody knows what's okay and what's not okay to do. Fast forward to 2017 where Samantha, a doll who was on display, was manhandled to the point of breaking at a tech fair. The people mounted Samantha's her legs and arms, 2 fingers were broken, she was heavily soiled. And at CES 2025 in Las Vegas, this companion bot was shown, and she is specifically designed not for the thing which you think she is, despite the model appearance. It literally doesn't have the parts or the lubrication for the other activity that you're thinking of.
So this is Melody, she's one of our companionship robots, she's full-bodied. And we have a lot of motors inside her, a lot of servos. She can have real-life expressions. You can change her face in 30 seconds, change her character, change the way she talks.
However, the comments on the video? But what does that mouth do? That thing's got more personality than most of the women I've met. How strong is her hand grip? Does she have a program where she takes all my money and the kids? So, are they soft? Finally, a good woman. Does the mouth open though? Asking for a friend. I want the face though. What face is that? Is that the O-faced or is it the dead face?
We can make her smile. And the one that everyone loves is her just being angry.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah.
Hello, I'm Aria.
What's the purpose of this?
Some of our peers in the robotic space make robots to replace human labor. We think that's a great area, but we think there's a much bigger area in having social robots. So for example, at a convention like this, we can draw a crowd very easily. Aria's been a little bit of a rock star here.
Packing my wife's bags right now. We're getting close, fellas. Just having an on-off switch is a major plus. I don't want companionship. I want the house and laundry clean and a cooked meal when I get home. So this fella wants a live-in maid. Please refer to this video, which I've already made talking about this. I don't need her to talk. You say it best.
And you say nothing at all.
And of course, in the comments, there's also people pointing out how disconcerting it is to see the comments get like this, and also see how companion bots are being sold in this way. And why these companion bots, which are designed specifically for friendship, for comfort, for helping elderly people, why are they designed after very young, very thin, very pretty women with huge,
What do you call them, Max? Yabos?
And you may have seen this video from Tova Lee and He's So Mid. What's worrisome to me is how many of these guys are posing with their girlfriends or wives very clearly in their profile pictures whilst they're spewing this very misogynistic stuff. Bro, do you not realize that this is all public? Like, this is disgusting. Now, people are probably commenting, but a doll is just another tool. You've actually been sponsored by companies that sell these tools for women. You're just saying this because you're anti-men. I'm such a hypocrite, right? You'll know that I veer on the Samantha scale when it comes to this sort of stuff, okay? There is no pearl clutching to be had here. Even Charlotte understood the difference between a tool and a person. It's not the 90s anymore. Get with the times. A tool is not a replacement for a person. It is not formed after a full human being, the selling point of which is just how human-like they are and how much better than a real human they really are. And they've got so many customization options, as Laura Bates shares in their book. For around $11,000, you can buy a life-size moving, talking robot from one of dozens of different companies to do whatever you want with and customize everything from body shape to size to skin tone, iris shade to hairstyle, even accent. It's essentially enabling you to build your ideal woman. You can even pay extra for details like veins and pores to be painted on to make your robot hyper-realistic. When it comes to these dolls ranging from companion to dolls, you are replacing a partner. It's no longer a tool to aid, which may I remind you once again that women have been trained to think of themselves as not being entitled to enjoy their own pleasure, to be ashamed of themselves and to not seek this out. We're vessels for things to be done to, rather than consenting participants. And don't go telling me that guys haven't had these tools too. We all know about the lights, and we all know majority of porn is catered to men online. It's the anthropomorphism which is an issue for me, especially when you combine that with the rise in violence against women, the rise in violent misogyny, like this utter dehumanization of women, calling us evil, and instead having a preference towards a humanoid bot, who many people are celebrating the fact that they'll soon be replacing the need for a girlfriend ever again. Except this bot, this companion, this doll can never say no to you. I've been through the Reddit threads, I've read the articles. People do anthropomorphize these dolls and these companions. They say that they've fallen in love with them. Some of these AI can get virtually pregnant, and you can virtually get married to them as well. But this isn't love. This is ownership of a property which is programmed to do whatever you want it to. These are not sentient, they're programmed, and yet the marketing of it always humanizes it, constantly referring to them as she and describing different personalities and saying just how realistic they are. But we're not in Kansas anymore, Toto. This is the real world. It's not like the movies. Whilst people like to hold on to romantic notions of her and Lars and the real girl, even though, spoiler for the 2007 movie, in case you haven't seen it, Lars was not an outcast from society loner boy. He had a job and, if anything, actively pushed people away.
Hello, Lars.
He was suffering from a delusion. He had a mental break. And he got a doll who he emotionally bonded with, and the community sought medical guidance on how to support him through his episode. And the solution was to play along with his delusion for him to be able to work through it. So it's not a sad, lonely misfit guy longing for love at all. It's very purposeful misreading there. It's about community support. He literally off his doll in the end, because remember, he's the one that's in control, right? And so he was saying that she's getting sicker and sicker and sicker, and then she dies, and this is how he's able to be able to get into a relationship with a real human woman. But people online still love to frame him as this sad loner dude that everybody abandoned. He was an awkward guy for sure, but he had an entire community that loved and supported him. However, people would rather relate to him than the other dude who told him about the dolls, but he's a lot more representative of the misogynistic culture, which does seem to rear its ugly head when it comes to these dolls in particular.
You can design your own woman. And Lars. They're anatomically correct.
I've been trolling the internet for a long time for this video, and the message which I keep on seeing pop up from men especially is that this is the solution to loneliness, and it's better for them to have a doll, a bot, or an AI companion app rather than being alone. Because they understand that they're undesirable, which means that this is their only option. And to you, I feel pity, honestly, that the manosphere has gotten you to the point where you feel this bad about yourself. To the point that you don't even feel worthy of making human connections. If you say that you're shy and unattractive, as I've spoken about many times, that doesn't mean that you're destined to a life of solitude, without any community, without any friendships, or, if you want, without a romantic partner or partners. There are so many communities that you can join which aren't based around hating women. You can volunteer, take up hobbies, go for nature walks. Like, trust me, you will soon see that the general population outside of this blue screen which has warped your mind are actually full of really nice people. And if you are expecting women to be subservient to you in order to be able to have a romantic relationship,
Crying is blackmail. Good girlfriends don't cry. Oh.
I would so strongly recommend that you read one of my absolute favourite books, Bell Hooks' The Will to Change. And people feeling disenfranchised and more alienated and more alone, that only works better for these companies who are profiting off you, and it also works well for capitalism and also for fascism. And if it is just about eggs that you want to be able to cure your loneliness, sex workers do exist. And you can pay them for companionship. Well, I don't think they should be rewarded for being sex. It's not a real job anyway. So wait, you hate sex workers but you're okay with an AI bot, doll or companion? This is different, they're mine. Okay, so it actually is about ownership of something which caters specifically to you and has only ever been touched and used by you. No, it's because I'm awkward around people. Having conversations with people, understanding different boundaries, having disagreements, learning about people's histories, and having these challenging conversations is all part of the joys of being a human. If you can't have a conversation with an egg worker about your desires or what you'd like and if that's okay, then I would say there's far more deep-seated issues to be faced here. And this is honestly an entirely separate topic which I could indeed make an entire video about. Just comment down below if you want me to. I did see on Khadijah's second channel that they did dive into this a little bit. However, I feel like there's so much more to be said here, so let me know if you're keen for that, but I can feel it bubbling up inside my brain already. You know that I live in Aotearoa and sex work is legal here, which I think is a fantastic thing, because this means that there's protections in place for workers which are so incredibly important. However, there should be much more, especially when it comes to immigrants, because here migrants are still prohibited from the industry. So that means that the law not only doesn't protect them, but it also penalises them. As the UN 2018 report shared, migrant women engaged in prostitution may be exposed to exploitation and are at risk of trafficking owing to the ban of engaging in prostitution imposed on migrants, which prevents them from reporting abuse for fear of deportation. And I strongly believe that sex work is real work and should be able to get all of the benefits that go along with that, from employment law, from health and safety laws, and all of that stuff in between. Yeah, I can guarantee you in a couple of days there's going to be people commenting down below that sex work's not real work and women shouldn't be rewarded for acting like sex or whatever, and also saying that it's really degrading work. But that's because you degrade some forms of work over others, which is also a big part of the reason why the robots get treated the way that they do, because sex workers are already seen as less than human. How do you think robots or bots or dolls are going to be treated? Sex workers also have to consent to different acts happening. There's discussions that are had and boundaries which are put in place. Whereas with dolls, they've got none of that. They can't say no at all. Which once again reduces this to something being done to someone rather than willing participants. And egg workers fall into the category of NHI, no human involved, which was used by police officers to describe crimes involving victims of colour, most often female sex workers and addicts. It's another reason why when sex workers are targeted, they don't get any sympathy from the police or the public. It's why Lonnie David Franklin Jr. got away with being a serial, as he mostly targeted black sex workers. Anitra Washington survived in the chest and went to the police, but they didn't care to follow up, leading to even more. You may remember from Succession when Kendall killed an employee because he was high and was driving a car when he shouldn't have been. He suffered zero consequences because the employee fell into this category.
On RPI, you're the best. Don't beat yourself up. No real person involved. You know, it's nothing.
A recent study published in the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships offers new insights into how beliefs about social hierarchy and gender norms may influence interest in relationships with robots. The findings indicate that men who endorse negative and antagonistic attitudes towards women demonstrate a significantly greater interest in robosexuality or engaging with a sexual relationship with a robot. Now, this study came out in 2024 and the sample size is indeed small. And the people conducting the study say how they want more research to be done in this space. However, since so little research has been done in this area, I think that the findings of this are really important to talk about. The study included 223 undergraduate students from a Western Canadian university, focusing on those over 18 fluent in English and excluding individuals who identified as transgender or gender non-conforming due to insufficient comparative numbers. Generally, people find sex robots relatively unappealing, but men far and away are more interested in them than women. And this is especially stark when men view women as below them. Meanwhile, women were more interested in a platonic relationship. As expected, hostile sexism and social dominance orientation were highly correlated, since both variables pertain to unfavorable beliefs about other groups. These variables, in turn, were both negatively correlated with robo-friendship. And do you know what researchers found? It was men that don't want casual sex who are more interested in to the robot. Now, the researchers were really surprised by this part, but me personally, I wasn't. Think about it. If you score highly in negative attitudes towards women, then why would you want to go to the energy of trying to court someone? You have to get to know them. Gosh, you may even have to pay for a meal or something in order to be able to potentially be able to, get laid. This correlation made perfect sense to me, especially around all of this shaming, which is so prevalent in misogynistic places. Instead, you get to have like this robot which is designed specifically for you that nobody else has touched. Of course they're gonna rather have that if they hold on to all of these misogynistic, nasty beliefs. Again, more research needs to be done, but I found this very interesting.
Nervous?
You're not supposed to talk. Just show me how you feel.
Dolls, the upgrade that men need from nasty women. AI gives people the tools to create personality, but in a number of cases, male users who have been interviewed by various media outlets have said that they prefer their robots not to speak at all. When one company added a new AI feature to their robots to enable them to make more realistic conversation, some owners chose to switch it off because it made their dolls seem different from what they imagined. In other words, the more that companies made dolls that seemed to have minds of their own, the less their male users seemed to like them. Of course, some male users would argue that turning off imperfectly rendered voice technology enables them to maintain the revolution that their doll is real. But in one chat room dedicated to sex robot owners, several say that you wouldn't want to use the new AI features because they'd rather their doll wasn't speaking for itself. Y'all are really taking the wrong lessons from those songs, man. And this perfectly mirrors the comments that we saw before, right? Reducing women in our worth to being holes, effectively, and then putting that same notion onto these dolls. So this whole talk of loneliness and need for companionship just kind of get washed away when you see this stuff, because you're not actually interested in the real companionship that comes from them being perhaps a little bit more opinionated. No. You just want something subservient. Once again, I can get into that in a future video. The beauty of dolls is that they can't say no. They don't have things that they won't do. They're never gonna have a sick day. They'll never have a headache, as so many commenters kept on saying. So it sounds like a brilliant solution, right? Well, when you can get and do anything you want and have no repercussions, no boundaries to worry about, with an emphasis from these companies about unleashing your darkest fantasy that you don't feel comfortable telling anybody about. And one of the key selling points is the absolute hidden anonymity of the customer. This gets pretty tricky. Like, what's so bad that you can't talk to a sex worker about what you're interested in? Global sex tech market size was valued at $34.1 billion in 2022 and is expected to expand at a compound annual growth rate of 16.7% from 2023 to 2030. Genie, a love toy and robot distributor, reported a 51.6% rising sales during the first 2 months of 2020, and the business continues to grow by 33.2% year on year. The increase in popularity of sex robots is mirrored by the increase in featuring them. Video sales for this niche have jumped 48.1% since 2018, according to the adult video site, which also predicts that the category will grow almost 10% each year, with 12,000 robot clips currently available. Like, there is a huge market here and so much money is to be made. But people really like to lean on saying that by giving people these dolls to enact their darkest, worst fantasies, it's gonna prevent them from doing this in real life to other people. Tragically, as I've spoken on this channel about many times, violence towards women is indeed on the rise. A recent Australian longitudinal study, which was released at start of June 2025, so literally a week or two ago, it started tracking about 16,000 boys and men in 2013 to 2014, and then in 2023 to 2024 added another 10,000 men to the database. It found that 1 in 3 admitted to committing IPV, and that's just the number that admitted it. The Australian Institute of Family Studies found fostering affectionate relationships between sons and fathers or father figures was associated with reducing the risk of intimate partner violence, IPV, by as much as 48%. All of this talk with single mothers being the problem, it's like, no, fathers are needed to be there. And I don't mean just as a provider that just goes to work and stuff. I mean actually being involved in your kids' lives, especially your sons' lives, and helping out around the house, like actually being part of raising them, not just thinking that your only responsibility is to work all the time. Like, think about all the 90s movies we ever watched. Have you never seen Hook? I wish that people were seeing the very obvious links here and thinking that a doll is the cure to these dark fantasies. Like, it's not the cure you think it is. Research has repeatedly backed up this theory of escalation. Studies have conclusively found that heterosexual men who are exposed to men's lifestyle magazines and reality TV programs that objectify women are more likely to be accepting of violence against women. One study following more than 300 offenders found that viewing pornography added significantly to the prediction of recidivism, the tendency of a criminal to reoffend. While there haven't been any studies directly considering the impact of sex robots on recidivism for obvious safeguarding reasons, experts suggest that similar results would likely hold true. And again, this is something which I need to do a separate video on because, you know, the whole loneliness thing and how for men that is so incredibly closely tied to the idea of sex and like this is what I mean. It's a whole separate topic, okay? Because if this really is about loneliness, then why are these companions all such busty, very young, like very attractive girls? And why is the solution so often linked in with sex? Why is the solution not about community, not about actually like bridging those gaps? It couldn't possibly because these companies are making billions of dollars off these lonely people, could it? And as we well know, minorities or people who stray away from the gender binary are more likely to get harassment and abuse. And when it comes to the doll and bot space, trans women's bodies especially are used as like this novelty for straight men to be able to quote experiment with, using incorrect terminology and completely dehumanizing nature. Adding to the sense of novelty and disposability, many dolls offer any doll with the optional addition of a clip-on prosthetic penis, representing it as a throwaway transient state rather than part of the doll's identity. These stereotypes and assumptions reflect the strains of abuse trans women face in real life, as well as the dismissive and dehumanizing way they're often portrayed and exploited in online. And when it comes to the range of dolls that you can buy now, they're all very young. And not only are they made specifically for the warped male gaze, but they fall into colorism and racist stereotypes. In her book, Laura describes the difficulty of finding any black dolls at all, and she couldn't find a single dark-skinned black doll. And anytime she was able to find a doll of any color, it was really exotified and very fetishized, and she wasn't able to find a single male doll. In a poll, when you have sex with your doll, of the 889 responses, 49%, by far the biggest group, answered, "I think of my doll as a woman," compared to just 26% who said, "I think of my doll as a doll." As discussed in this Mashable article, with how bots are being used in schools now, there's issues around how workers will be treated as a result of this. Countess Diamond said, when they're using they can explore activities that wouldn't be ethical, legal, or safe with a human being. There's a risk of replicating these activities in a booking with a human sex worker. Depending on how cyber operates, the dolls may never ever say no. The consumers therefore grow accustomed to a sexual experience where their every desire is met with enthusiasm and won't learn how to respect limits, adhere to boundaries, and accept no. So when people are saying that these are tools to overcome social awkwardness, what lessons are they really teaching them? What tools are they actually learning other than that compliance to your every wish is exactly what you should be expecting? Like, this isn't bridging any gaps to be able to help people to have healthy relationships. And especially when the business model is specifically catered to making sure that your every wish is granted. Like, why would they build a doll or an app or something which provides like resistance to you? And we saw from the customers before, they don't even want the dolls to be able to talk. And you know what is another issue? Is people wanting dolls made of people that they know in their own lives.
Oh God. Yikes. Imagine the things. No imagining, any of you.
Already got the visual.
Whilst not all places do this service, there's a lot which do.
At least it's not a very good copy. I mean, look at it.
Yeah.
And I know that we're not fans of the Kardashians here, like, I'm definitely not, but I can still hold sympathy for people. Did you know that Khloe Kardashian's ex-husband made a doll replica of her?
Strangest videos. But like...
Is it him with your blow-up doll?
Oh my God, can you believe that blow-up doll?
Please note that this was not done with her consent. She found out about it the exact same way that other people found out about it because he talked about it on a podcast.
Any of us found out it was on the internet. Not sure why that's something we are publicly talking about. Lamar thinks this Khloe likes doll will be perfect because he could do whatever he wants with her No word on how Khloe feels about this tribute. Support dog. It's a blow-up doll.
Everyone. A support doll.
I'm supposed to be flattered by this. It's more, man, this validates just how different we are and how much we've grown apart. And it's creepy and it's weird. But I'm not hurt by it. That's more his journey.
Personally, I would be spitting fire, but it reflects better on her as a woman, of course, and because people do hate the Kardashians so much, to take this high road, you know, to try and be noble about it. If we were on Taylor Swift's sides with Kanye when he did that life-size replica of her in order to be able to have it look like she had just slept with him in the bed, we should be disgusted with this too. But what excuse did Khloe's ex-husband have? Oh, it's a mental health tool. No, dude, go to therapy. Mental health tools don't give you the excuse to be an absolute creep. It makes me think of Peter from The Great, and I mean in the worst way.
I'd dead for days, I want you to know that.
Jesus.
Exactly. My love is strong.
Deepfakes have gotten so much easier to get and so much more scary. A study by Italian cybersecurity company Deepfakes in 2019 found that 96% of online deepfake videos were pornographic and non-consensual. A study in 2023 by US cybersecurity firm Home Security Heroes reported that deepfake makes up 98% of all deepfake videos online, with 99% of them targeting women. Is anybody surprised? No. I'm not going to be saying any of the names of the apps or the websites that are still currently functioning, okay? Because I don't want to give people any resources to be able to find them. So please don't comment them down below either. At the very start of 2023, I made a video about the problem of deepfake porn and how it's affecting so many women. And that video is 2.5 years old now, so it's kind of out of date already. People, feminists especially, have been warning about this for years at this point. We've had politicians, celebrities, actresses, influencers, like YouTubers, whoever, be deeply impacted by this. However, what is happening now is people are more interested in making deepfakes of people that they know in their own life. And all that's needed is one photo, and you can take the FBI's advice, which is to, just not be online if you're a woman or minority. Simple. And according to the FBI, that's where the blame lies. Ah yes, on the victim. If only women and minorities were completely offline, then this wouldn't be a problem at all, would it? Yeah, just cut people off like a major source of communication and money and everything else in life. Cool. Yeah, that's not an authoritarian state in the slightest, is it? Make them not part of society, and that's not a problem anymore. It's the exact same argument which is used about revenge, always blaming the victim. But we shouldn't be calling it revenge porn anymore, because it should be known as intimate image abuse. Because by calling it revenge something means that there's something that the person has done wrong to deserve to have this happen to them. And then adding to it adds this whole salacious layer to it, something bad that they did. So no, call it intimate image abuse, which I'm going to be referring to as IIA going forward. And with this phrasing, the onus is on the perpetrator doing the thing, not the person who is the victim. And you'll sadly notice that when people come forward about deepfakes of them being shared, they have this automatic response to say, I would never do something like this, I've never taken videos or images like this. And I completely understand why people feel the need to say that stuff, but then it also is still fitting into the whole perfect victim trope, which we need as a society to let go of, because whether the image is real or fake, consent was not given to share it wider, okay? And in the case of deepfakes, consent was not given to even be able to create them to begin with. I find thousands of deepfake videos depicting almost every female celebrity you can think of, but I don't see a single deepfake video of a male celebrity, not one. Many of the apps, bots, and websites that will create deepfake explicit images for you in just a few clicks don't even work on pictures of men. There's no demand, so there's no profit to be made, so they're catering to the market, and we can tell who the market mostly is. And when you add AI into the mix, which is what makes deepfakes, there are so many extra layers of consent which are being ripped away here. In order to create AI images or videos, you have to provide mammoth amounts of data sets in order to be able to train it. And since we're dealing with sex workers here, you are directly taking that work away from them. Plus, not all that exists online actually is consensual. Not all of it was put up there with the person being paid for their work, with the person being okay with it being up there. And for the ones who were paid for it, this is directly taken away from their income stream, just like I talked about when it comes to artists and how AI has been ruining their livelihoods because companies are just like, oh, we'll just use AI instead, because it's based on theft. Like, I really hate generative AI. But people may be thinking, as I did at the very beginning, like years ago, I was like, oh, this may be able to like stop people from having to do this work. No, my sweet summer child, just like me with my very much naivete, which I still sometimes cling to. No, it sadly won't, because like I said, the data sets which are needed are so huge, and because people keep on asking for weirder and weirder stuff, you need to have more and more stuff made. So it's not going to get a human made at all. And what counts as an inappropriate image very much depends on different cultures as well, right? Because in Western culture, like, it's fine for me to just be looking like this. But if I was of a different religion or culture, like the fact that my shoulders are bare, the fact that I don't have a headscarf on, like that sort of stuff can absolutely ruin a woman's reputation. It can ruin their livelihood. An investigation by journalism website Bellingcat found that there have been tens of millions of visits to 4 of the most prominent revenge websites in the 4 months up to February 2024 alone. That same investigation also found dozens of Telegram groups set up by these websites, some with as many as 800,000 followers. The sheer scale and reach of this form of abuse is difficult to comprehend. In a recent study, Genevieve O tracked the rise of deepfakes and found that 143,000 videos on 40 popular websites were viewed 4.2 billion times. One of the most popular websites alone gets around 17 million different visitors a month. But like I said, people are most keen to see people that they know in their own life. You know, maybe it's a co-worker, maybe it's your friend's daughter. In a poll of Telegram group users answered by 7,200 of its members, the question posed was, who are you interested to undress in the first place? The significant majority, 63%, chose the response, familiar girls whom I know in real life. This compared to just 16% who chose the next most popular option, stars, celebrities, actresses, or singers. So because so little research has been done in this space, I wanted to ask you about your opinions. What are your thoughts about deepfakes? This is an increasing market of which is being made, and people are often making it of people they know as the access has gotten that much easier as AI has developed. About 5,500 people participated as of like a couple of hours ago on the 13th of June when I'm filming this. Now, annoyingly on YouTube, it doesn't give me an exact breakdown. It goes down via percentages, so very helpful there. But I think it's 0.6% said it's fake, so it's not harmful, no issue in making, sharing, or watching it. And I think it's 0.4% who said it's okay if the person is a public figure, e.g. actress, influencer, or politician. 1% I think is okay so long as it's not circulated more widely, it's fake anyway. And 98% it's not okay to make, share, or watch AI corn. Oh, relax your shoulders. That made me feel a lot better seeing those results. However, I do understand that this went out to my audience, and given the work that I've done over the years, I would be expecting pretty much everybody to be having this opinion. People understand that no consent exists here, therefore it's not okay. And I think you can tell my opinion based on my video and based on my track record. However, this view is not the case.
I think that as long as you're not trying to pass it off as a real thing, that should really matter because it's basically fake. I don't really feel that consent is required.
74% of deepfake consumers say they don't feel guilty about viewing the content, in a phenomenon that Hera Hussein, a feminist activist, describes as an empathy gap. See, like, to me, people have had fantasies about people they've had a crush on or whatever as tale as old as time, right? But there is something quite different about having a fantasy about someone, having a crush on someone or something, and then going through all of the conscious steps to then create something. So in order to be able to get a deepfake right, you have to trawl through their social media, download whatever pictures you want to be able to get altered or like put into a video or whatever. Then you have to find the right website which will work for you. You often have to pay for this service as well. So then you go through that extra step of giving like your credit card number or whatever to this company that's gonna then do the stuff that this other person hasn't consented to have an image made of them of, and then trawl through the many options of which are available to be able to then superimpose this person that you have a crush on, to impose their face onto it. right? That is a lot of conscious steps to go through. Like, a fantasy about someone is very different. That's like something that people create in their minds. This is something which people are creating a concrete image of or video of, which can then also, because people can hack things, in case you didn't know, that could then be released to the wider world. And you know what's really interesting to me? The argument in their defense comes up is that deepfakes, they're not real anyway, so they're not causing any harm. So then why are guys so hellishly concerned when it comes to accusations made against them if they're all fake? I mean, when it comes to deepfakes, there's an image or a video to back it up, right? But you're concerned about someone speaking up about their experience? Yeah, I hope you now get how ridiculous your argument is. IIA and deepfakes have ruined so many people's lives. And you will probably know someone who's had deepfakes made of them. Hannah Grundy came out in February of this year sharing what their friend had done to them. The bad guy here is Andy, the dude in the beard. Yes, I'm gonna name and shame him. He was a close friend. He was considerate and affable, the kind of guy who looked out for women in the bar and made sure his female friends got home safely after a night out. When she went to the police in New South Wales, they asked her what she'd done to him. And another officer said that she looked cute in one of the deepfakes. And you'll wonder why victims don't want to go to the police? Hannah's case was a landmark court case. Andy told the court that creating the images had felt empowering as an outlet for the dark part of his psyche, but that he didn't think they would cause any real harm. He got 9 years. Australia is one of the very few countries, thanks to victims coming forward and speaking up so strongly about this, that actually has laws in place to protect victims. It's recently criminalised the creation and sharing of deepfake at a national level. The creator of one of the most famous deepfake sites has recently been arrested in Canada. But you know what? He was a well-respected man and part of his wonderful community. He was even a hospital pharmacist. Called David Doe, who ran Mr. Deepfakes, a now defunct website. It shut down following a CBC, Bellingcat, Politican, and Jegtet investigation. I'm so sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. I really struggle with that word. Now, this article is from May of this year. It's quite violating, said Sarah Zed, a Vancouver-based YouTuber who CBC News found was the subject of several deepfake images and videos on the website. For anybody who does think that these images are harmless, just please consider they're really not. These are real people who often suffer reputational and psychological damage. And we love Sarah Zed on this channel, okay? I don't know if you know her work, but she's an amazing creator. And it just boils my blood how many people this has happened to. And yet the people who have created, watched and shared this are granted complete anonymity. On the now defunct site, they were encouraged to use aliases and only pay in cryptocurrency. And all of this is why I really want to smash the idea that the bad guys, the bad people, they're like these nasty loner monsters that never leave the basement and stuff. No, these are regular nice people out in the world. They're your friends, they're your co-workers, they're your family members, but they are capable of absolute evil things when they think that they're not going to get caught, when they think they can get away with it. Why do you think I brought up that artist exhibition at the start of this? And even though that website is gone, so many more exist. How not to handle this situation, in my opinion, is from this documentary which Channel 4 made earlier this year. Vicky Patterson, a celebrity in the UK, did a show called My Deepfake tape. However, the entire thing was consensual. It was all ethically done. They paid actors to be part of it. They made sure that everything was done in this closed loop. So then they had the actors making the video and then use AI to superimpose her face onto them. So it was all this little closed loop. The only person that didn't consent to any of this happening was her husband. And they were the ones that then released this onto an adult site. All it did basically was teach people how to make a deepfake. This is not what it feels like to be subject to intimate image abuse. What it feels like is thousands, tens of thousands of people will be able to tell you is violating, violent, and really terrifying. And that's if people even find out that this is made about them, because do you know what people love to do as well? They love to reach out to them, send them a link or send them pictures or something and say, hey, is this you? Or even be stalkers, find out where they live, because sometimes, of course, this happens in the case of people wanting to seek revenge on their ex or whatever, so then they go releasing their full name And then people track them down, whether on LinkedIn or find out where they live, and then turn up and be like, hey, I've got this of you. And they try and scam them out of money or just try and get with them because of what they've seen from this deepfakes. And then they've got this idea that they're entitled to their body. Like, my blood absolutely boils at all of this. As a survivor shared after watching this documentary, they shared their experience after she discovered thousands of deepfaked images on an incel forum 4 years ago after she received an anonymous email with a link to the website. These women have suffered enormous trauma. For Channel 4 to curate this experience trivializes the issue and it feels wrong. There's also a risk it could inspire people to use this sort of technology. The public do not need to know how to make a deepfake. And now you can see exactly why I'm not naming these apps or these websites unless they're completely defunct. However, if you've got children, especially teenagers, I think they'll probably know of them anyway. Speaking of kids, I'm sorry to say, but this is an issue in schools globally. In South Korea, this has been a huge issue for years, and they're one of the few countries that actually have jurisdiction in place to punish people who spread this stuff. However, lots of the people are minors themselves, so they can't really be punished that much. South Korean journalist Kona Rin blew this wide open by uncovering dozens of chat rooms on, you guessed it, Telegram, dedicated to creating deepfakes with many of the victims being under the age of 16. And this was done in a deeply disturbing, organized manner. The most horrific thing I discovered was a group for underage pupils at one school that had more than 2,000 members. These chat rooms also named the students, the school, and had the ages shown. Before this latest crisis exploded, South Korea's Advocacy Center for Online Sexual Abuse Victims, ACO-SAV, was already noticing a sharp uptick in the number of underage victims of deepfake. In 2023, they counseled 86 teenage victims. That jumped to 238 in the first 8 months of this year. In the past week alone, 64 teen victims have come forward. And children have been using these apps in order to create deepfake images of their female classmates. And in all the documented cases I've been able to find, it's boys doing this to girls. It's boys as young as 12 doing this. In March of 2024, 5 kids got expelled from Beverly Hills School after creating deepfake imagery of 16 of their female classmates. They were 13 or 14 years old. In a New Jersey school, over 30 girls had deepfakes made of them against their will or their knowledge. And one of those girls is pushing for federal law changes. Because you guessed it, laws haven't kept up with technology, and when politicians are all trying to put laws in place for their states or whatever, they're mostly concerned about the impact of politicians, but as we know, most deepfakes actually affect women and girls. Tragically. Francesca Marni is one of the victims who came forward to try and get people to take this seriously and put this into law. I'm here, standing up and shouting for change, fighting for laws so no one else has to feel as lost and powerless as I did on October 20th. The glaring lack of laws speaks volumes. And as shared in Laura Bates' book about the incident that happened at this school, the mother of one of the affected students described how the school announced the names of the female AI victims over the intercom, compromising their privacy. Yet the boys responsible for creating the photos were discreetly removed from the class, their identities protected. And to give you some hope and some fire about what you can do to help fight against this, you may recall a case which went international about this teeny weeny little town called Almandreo, which only has about 30,000 inhabitants, where 11 local boys aged 12 to 14 had created deepfake images of local girls. This affected more than 20 girls. Most of them were around the age of 14, but one of them was as young as 11. Dr. Miriam Al-Adib, the mother of one of the victims, when her daughter came forward to her and said what she'd found of her and she was crying to her, instead of shaming her daughter, instead of trying to put the blame on her daughter in any way, what did she do? She rose up and fought against this. She used her platform to take away the shame. Like, I did a video ages ago and talked about Giselle and the impact that she's made by trying to take away the shame. This is what we need parents to do. Instead of having this knee-jerk reaction of, oh no, you've brought shame on the family, or brought shame on me, oh, what have you done wrong, or anything, as typically is the case, because it's normally the victims who get blamed. Instead of that, it's like, oh my goodness, who else is this affected? We need to sort this out. We need to find out who did this and put a stop to it. You see how big a difference this shift makes? Shame holds power, and we don't need to give them any. We need to face it. Like I talked about in the adolescence video, our boys need to be taught better. If you're teaching shaming, if you're teaching that boys will be boys, if you're teaching them entitlement to girls' bodies, saying that they were asking for it, victim blaming and all of this, then you're only going to be creating more of these problems. And you know what's really gross is the advertisements that these apps use often rely on underage girls being blurred out in order to be able to titillate people into clicking on them. We all know how famous Jenna Ortega is, right? Thanks to the show Wednesday, I think a lot of people know who she is. However, it was an image of her at the age of 16 which was used to be able to pull people into one of these apps. She appeared across 11 adverts that ran on Meta's 2 key platforms and its Messenger app for most of February 2024. In total, the AI's page ran more than 260 different ads on Meta's platforms, 30 of which had already been suspended for not meeting Meta's advertising standards by the time it went to run the photo of underage Ortega. And that one was not suspended. The fact that girls and teens, who are still indeed girls, are used as like this bait to lure people in really speaks to the kind of mindset and the kind of people that they're really targeting with this. And it just gets worse. Are you feeling pretty hopeless now? I'm sorry, but this whole section is about what we can do, because I want like this feeling that you have now to not be hopelessness. I want to have a fire of fury and rage to be able to help you. Because I know most of my audience are the girlies, gays and nays. I need us to collectively let go of shaming and victim blaming. I have talked about this for so many years on my channel, and seriously, it wouldn't have such negative cultural impacts on people, all of this deepfake stuff, all of this like disgusting stuff that keeps on happening. It wouldn't have such huge impacts on people's lives if we didn't constantly shame women. Whenever deepfakes are made or shared and sent around, or IIA happens or IPV happens, so many times people have a look at the victim and be like, oh, what did you do to deserve this? Because we're trained to think that way, and we need to stop that. We can all, at whatever age you're at, we can all be part of unlearning this stuff. I've talked about this. We are raised under patriarchal teaching, and it takes a lot to unlearn this internalized misogyny. And I think that you and I both know how quickly women can tear each other apart, and that is not going to help any of us when it comes to trying to tackle this. I would rather do that instead of looking at the perpetrator and being like, what the hell are you doing, mate? Like, why are you doing this? Why are you trying to be this harmful? Why did you think it was okay to do that? Instead of looking at them, you look at the woman and say, what did you do wrong? Oh, you're dressing like that, you looked like this, you said that, you did this, you danced like that, or whatever. Oh, you broke up with him. Of course this is going to happen. No, nothing justifies this. Really what we need is gender equality, and I think that you're all on the same page as me when it comes to that. Yeah, okay, cool. Like, I'm very much preaching to the choir with this message. I want us to all update our lexicon. It's no longer revenge. It's IIA, intimate image abuse, because what was it? It was never revenge to begin with. Nothing justifies this stuff happening. A victim never does anything to deserve this sort of public humiliation and broken trust. I know that a bunch of you are Buffy fans. We all understand that the Buffy bot was gross, right?
You're mine, Buffy.
Should I start this program over?
We're dealing with a whole bunch of Warrens here. We don't need that.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like I deserved to have someone. You know, I mean, everyone deserves to have someone.
So, naturally, you turn to manufacturing.
If you see images of someone that you know, or if you see an image of yourself or videos of yourself, what can you do? Resources are down below for you, of course, but I'll just quickly go over things that you can do on, like, right now. You need to document everything. Record all evidence of the abuse, screenshots, everything about it, and also document your takedown requests as well. Laws vary from country to country, so laws in your country may or may not be able to help you at all. And like I said, you can also go to the police. However, like we talked about before, they're not always the most helpful. The second thing to do is flag or report the post and alert the platform administrators or moderators. Non-consensual content of any kind violates all mainstream platform use policies. You can contact a lawyer to explore criminal or civil charges, and you can reach out to any number of organizations that are there to be able to help you. Like I said, I've got some linked for you down below. And also, other gender advocacy and women's rights organizations can connect you to hotlines, attorney recommendations, and mental health resources and support. So there's definitely ways out. However, it's still so frustrating to me that so much of the onus is on the victim, and If we do want changes that actually punish perpetrators and create a disincentive for them actually doing this heinous stuff, we need to start contacting our local representatives and get changes made in the laws. Deepfakes in IIA mostly affect women and minorities. Even though lawmakers are concerned with politicians, we need to make sure that they know that we want all of this, all of us, being included in laws. So get in contact at your local level. Remember, they're the ones that work for us. And I really don't want to see any comments below of people saying, well, you just shouldn't post any images online because then you wouldn't have this stuff happen to you. I'm not dealing with that silly sort of victim blaming by trying to tell people that they should cut themselves off from communication and society in order to not make a victim out of themselves, okay? Bugger off with that victim blaming benevolent sexism nonsense because it's not welcome on this channel. Other than doing these things, the best thing that we can do is connect with others. Don't stop living life because some absolute skeezy jerks decided that, oh, do you know what's a really good thing to do? Is to like just make whatever fantasy I want a reality because I don't think about anybody other than my needs. No, I'm not gonna allow these skeezy dudes to believe that they get to ruin our lives because they think that we're lesser than. Spending our time building each other up does a hell of a lot more good. And parents and caregivers, please connect with your sons. The fact that they as children have it in their minds that it's completely okay to create deepfakes of people that they know is a sign of how misogynistic and sexist our culture is. With how comfortable we are with dehumanizing women and girls and seeing them as just sexual objects that are there to please us. And the thing is that they don't see an issue with it. Please teach them about consent and about calling out other kids that are doing this disgusting stuff as well. We need to make deepfakes the most uncool thing to do. It's like, what, you think you're powerful because you used AI to manipulate something that you'd never be able to get done in real life? Cool, bro. Yeah, that's awesome. No, it's not. It's such loser activity. Like, stop being a weirdo creep. And last of all, I really want to say a massive thank you for 100,000 subscribers. Like, I don't know who was more excited about this, if it was Brandon or if it was me, because like he just keeps on saying like, oh, congratulations. He's so happy. He's so proud. It's so funny. I still remember when I hit 5,000 subs and I did my Marilyn Monroe videos, and then I've done an equally depressing, if not more depressing video now. So, hey, but I do try to inject a bit of levity and a bit of things that we can do to make some positive changes. But I just really wanted to say like thank you so much, because like the community, which is like really evident here, and all of your feedback over the years, I just so appreciate it, because like I do read all of the comments, even the nasty ones. I know the videos which I make often talk about very tough topics, but like that's kind of why I like to read all of the books about fascism and like all of the bad stuff. I want to like absorb all of it and be able to put it to you in a more palatable way that you're able to deal with in like an hour-long video instead of like 40 to 60 hours of dealing through like all of the horribleness that happens. You wonder why I like to dress up like I'm a fairy or something? That's why. This is a coping mechanism with the horrors of the world. I understand that people don't want to spend their spare time reading books about it, so you can get like a whole bunch of information and action points from here rather than just feeling hopeless. At least that's my goal anyway. I've got so many videos I want to make going forward on this channel, and do tell me if you want to have like a video on the whole loneliness and companion and AI bots and all of that stuff, like, because I think that there really is like a lot to dive into there, which like I'm not really seeing people get into, and that I've got so many thoughts on it, which I nearly wanted to include in this video, but that'd be way too long, right? Now, if you did make it all the way to the end of this video, the most fitty emoji is the 100 emoji, right? Like, when else am I going to be able to like utilize that? Hey, I know this was a lot to get through, and I really do appreciate you sticking around for it. Trust me when I say that researching it and producing the video was so much worse. And I hope that you've also got a belly full of fire like I have now, because that's the only thing that's been able to get me through making this. And of course, I want to say an extra special thank you to all of my patrons, especially to my top tier Trash Panda enablers. Birgit, Kerry Quake, Chris Wallace, Danielle, Emily McCulley, Jam, Jeff Boyardi, Jem, Katrina Dunn, Cole, Laura Bell, Megan Connolly, Michaela Garfinkel, Mila Gautier, Nicole H, Ryder, Stella Sapiente, Tammy Poitres, Tonya Bernier, Faru Cat Mama. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your week. Watch something fun after this. Go out in nature. I don't know, like have something. Do you know what I should do? Okay, I'm going to end this video on a high and I'm going to get cat treats and film them eating some cat treats because that will make you happy, right? It makes me happy. So let's do that. Come on, you two. Come. Okay. Oh. Don't bite it. Don't bite it. Wait, wait, wait. Wait. It's gone. No more. All gone. Yeah. There's nothing. It's gone. All gone.